This is the Kyle Malnati Show. Our podcast provides an opportunity to expand your knowledge, and it's our goal to make real estate investing more approachable to everyone. Each episode, we tap into the mindset of real estate experts and share their stories. Live from Denver's Cherry Creek neighborhood, you are watching the Kyle Malnati Show on YouTube. I'm your host, Kyle Malnati, and we are so pleased to have our guest, Nick Woodward, with us today. We're also thankful for Stuart Title for allowing us a space to tape our show. So Nick is one of my very good clients. He and his mom, Denise, just closed on a 4-unit apartment building just 2 days ago. And they've also closed on 2 other properties with our team in the past, one on Humboldt and one on Ogden, and own some interest in a new development. And so Nick, let's talk about your real estate story, how you became aware of rental real estate. That's a subject that not everybody knows about. So when was the first time you heard about renting real estate?
So our real estate story is really a family story. My grandparents owned some real estate in central Denver. And when I was little, I'd go with my grandmother and paint the fence, pull the weeds, do some simple maintenance, and that was the first experience. Then subsequently, my mom, about 5 years ago, started getting into retirement planning stage, and while she's a little bit more conservative, I kind of pushed her to consider real estate, and it's worked out well.
I think that that's a wonderful story that a lot of children, as they're introduced to rental real estate and the apartment business specifically, that's what you do. You work around the property, you clean it, you rake leaves, you paint the fence, you help with little odds and ends items. And we've said this so many different times that when real estate owners intentionally show their children and their grandchildren what they do and how they've created wealth, and also they get to see that tenant interaction as well, you have a respect for the business that I think is far more than someone that would just be given a property and not have any of that training. And I think it's a wonderful way for our next question to talk about legacy. You've had a legacy from your grandmother, your mom, as well as you, and then also there's a legacy that you as a property owner leave on the city. So what type of legacy do you plan on leaving?
I'd love to leave a legacy of well cared for, clean, not too fancy, affordable apartment buildings that are places I'd love to live. The 4-unit that we just bought, I'm actually moving into one of those units. We'll be fixing it up, and eventually I'll move out. But everything that we buy is somewhere that I'd enjoy living.
And that's a great parallel to this 4-unit property that just closed earlier this week. You actually used to live in it about 10 years ago, and then come full circle. 10 years later, that person's ready to sell the property. And that was a key component, especially for your mom who's busy in her day-to-day job. For you to be able to live there with your girlfriend and have the ability to manage the property, lease the units. I think that's really a testament to that pride of ownership. If you buy something that you would be willing to live in, and I know a lot of my older clients say that this is a property that I would have lived in way back in the day. That's how much I like it. I think that's really important when you're renting multifamily property.
Yeah, and it's great to move in and kind of get to improve the buildings. So often on some apartment buildings, people will buy it and do as little work to it as they can. And if we're making it someplace we want to leave, we move in, we do sand the hardwood floors, make sure the paint's gorgeous, make sure the kitchen's done well, and just leave it better than we found it.
Yeah, and I think that that's really a great way to create value also. So we all make mistakes. I certainly make a ton of mistakes, but I think making mistakes are part of your journey, part of becoming better in life. And I think the key there is making mistakes that you learn from and improve, and then the next time that you have an opportunity to do something like that, you've got a better way of thinking about it. And so as a small business owner, you operate a small business outside of just your real estate. How do you handle failure? How do you handle mistakes?
Having had many problems in many ways over the years, it's communications. Trying to hide or waiting to communicate to somebody, and especially in running a family business, everybody needs to be on the same page. You gotta tell everybody what's going on as soon as possible, and that's really it. There's nothing, no secret to dealing with it. It's just putting one foot in front of the other, but it's less painful, I found, when we communicate as much as possible.
Yeah, communication is key, and I think that if you're able to be real direct with someone, say, hey, look, this didn't turn out the way that we expected. It's not, that we were negligent or anything, but it just didn't turn out. This particular variable made it so much different than we thought it would be. And I think that there's also a great quote that I love from a business leader that I follow, that to be unclear is to be unkind. And so I think that with anyone that you interact with in business, clarity, even if you're not doing the thing that you thought would happen, being clear and communicating through that, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
So we're both younger guys, and I think that it's important as we talk to people that are younger in the business, that are maybe aspiring investors, that we give some tips. And so what type of advice would you give to an aspiring investor?
I'd say, and certainly this is only my own personal experience, but don't be afraid to work with family. What we've set up is the ability to kind of have a 3-generational organization, whereby my grandmother's trust, we're able to provide for her care as she gets old and is moving into a nursing home. We're kind of protecting the inheritance for my mom and her 2 brothers. And then luckily I have the opportunity to set up my future as well. And most families wouldn't want to work with each other, but if you think you can, I definitely look into it. You're going to see these people anyway. You're going to have their interests deep in your heart, and figuring out how to benefit everybody is a great way to build a family.
Yeah, I love that concept of we are family. The way I like to look at it is that your family is your home field advantage. And what ends up happening for me as a real estate broker and as a realtor, most of my clients are family businesses. A lot of them are mom and pop. A lot of them are generational, where you've got father-son or mother-son or mother-daughter. And really the cool thing, I think, for you is to honor your grandmother through the things that she has done over the years, and that enables to take care of her as well. And I really love that concept of the 3 generations, and then at some point there's going to be a next generation, and you're having that little kiddo sweep up around the property or rake or do whatever they need to learn what the family business is all about. So as we start to close out our show, I love to share a quote for all of our guests. Nick picked this quote, and I really, really love this, and I want to hit home on this topic. This one step, choosing a goal and sticking to it, changes everything, by Scott Reed. Why'd you pick that quote, Nick?
If you don't know where you're going, you don't know when you're going to get there, or you can't make a plan on how to get there. You may not actually end up where you plan to go, but without knowing where you're going to go, you have no way to posture yourself and head in that direction.
Yeah, and I think the concept of writing goals down and looking, everybody creates New Year's resolutions. We're in the middle of summer right now, and our team, we talk about that there's really 2 New Years in the year. There's the January New Year that everybody knows about and does their resolutions, and they fall off by March, and no one's in the gym anymore, and everybody's hanging out and not doing what they were planning on doing. But there's also this new year around September. Kids are going back to school. There's a heavy push right into the fall and into the holiday season. And I think that choosing a goal, sticking to it, really ends up showing that you're committed to making that happen. If you choose a goal and you don't stick to it, you're really just a dreamer. And that goal is going to call you out as you've written it down and say, hey, I wanted to do this, and all of a sudden, what steps have you been taking to actually make that happen? So breaking down your goals and marching forward to something, I think, is a key to success in life.
Absolutely.
So last step of the show, we have a very special announcement. We are going to be having our season finale of the Kyle Malnati Show next episode. Nick is actually one of the folks that started this concept, this idea. He put a bug in my mind here, a bug in my ear, and said, hey, you should try to do a podcast. Carly, our producer, is actually going to come onto screen right now as well. And we're just going to talk about the history of the podcast. how the concept came about. And I'd like to honor both of you by saying, Nick, at the beginning, thank you for giving me the idea. Thank you for encouraging me to kind of step into this. And Carly, thank you for all the administrative work behind it. Thank you for all the editing. Thank you for all the promotion of it. It's really fun to win together. So Nick, talk a little bit about your talking to me back in 2014 about the idea of a podcast.
Yeah, so when I met you, you were sending out these great, very in-depth postcards and industry reports once a quarter, biannually, something like that. And while that was great, I thought there was an ability with technology, the internet, YouTube, etc., to really demonstrate your knowledge in a more accessible, easy to consume way. And that was just my 2 cents. And you took it and ran with it and built a great show. I
love that concept of, hey, we do these postcards and newsletters that are rich with content. Carly produces the majority of that as our marketing coordinator on our team. But they're really two-dimensional, right? It's not a conversation. It's not an ability to really dig deep. And so this show, the intention of it was to be three-dimensional. And when we were prepping, I loved how you said that the podcast demonstrates knowledge in the marketplace in a very accessible way. And that's our hope, is that this has been accessible. We want to deconstruct that idea that real estate is for REITs only or these big corporations. Most of the people that we interact with are local investors that work with their family. And so Carly has been on our team almost a year now as our marketing coordinator. This project, the podcast, has been one of her things that she helps produce and edit. So Carly, as you've been the newest member of our 4-person team, give me a couple of reflections that you've had as you've met all these investors and kind of had a chance to be on the show now, and just what are your thoughts?
So what I love most about the show is that everyone's story is different, but the path that they took there is similar. So like Nick, starting at a young age and doing simple maintenance to, putting in the sweat equity and working with family, I think that's awesome. And also, I would never know that just meeting him.
Right.
So I love to watch and hear more of the personal stories on how they got there, because you really get to understand the person better and where they came from versus just the first time meeting them. You don't really get to hear all about that.
Yeah, in our intro to the show that people listen to, we talk about making real estate investing approachable. And that approachability, just, you very rarely, unless you're a realtor like myself or on our team, have the ability to sit and hear about all these ideas that successful real estate investors have. So I agree, I love that. I love the path, their journey, the successes. And so we're going to be closing out this season of our show next episode, so you will not want to miss that. It's going to be a very special episode. I get a gift for all of my guests, and this occasion is no different. One of my favorite gifts to give is EntreLeadership, Dave Ramsey's book about how he built his business. It's 20 years of practical leadership from the trenches, and how he's an entrepreneur and a small business owner, and how he's grown that from a card table in his living room to over 550 teammates in Nashville, Tennessee at his office. So Nick, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Of course, thank you for being a client of mine. Carly, thank you for producing our show, and thank you to the viewer. You guys make this show happen, and as I love to say, we will see you around the neighborhood.